I got a new journal, and you know what that means. It means I have to set up a new one all over again, especially for school because school is starting soon. So first things first, what is bullet journaling? So bullet journaling is like a method of keeping track of the past, organizing the present, and planning the future. That is what the guy who invented bullet journaling said. And I guess that makes a lot of sense. I have been probably bullet journaling wrong my entire life, and so basically I went back to the basics. I went back to like the actual bullet journal website and kind of watched their tutorial, and that is something that I watched when I first started bullet journaling, but then I like got so caught up on like drawing and like setting it up every month with a theme and like colors and then doodling on it, and I never really just like actually used it to journal. I would just use it as like a very time-consuming planner. I'm going to be showing you how I set it up and how I'm going to start and keep on setting up my new like minimalist journal, I guess. Let's get started. Okay, I'm going to start off by saying I like to use the Sakura Pigma Micron pens. They come in different sizes and they're archival ink, so they're perfect for bullet journaling in my opinion. I'm starting off with the key, and this is just my reference to what bullet point means which and how I mark my tasks off and, you know, like completed and stuff like that. And it's just a good reference to have at the front of your journal. And I know this off the top of my head, but it's good to have like a system for your bullet points in your journal. The next spread that I have is a grid spacing hack page. So this is actually very handy if you want to split your page up into certain columns or rows or halves and stuff, and you already have counted out all the spaces in your journal. I am specifically using a Luxterm, I hope I'm saying it right, 1917, an A5 size, I believe. So if you do have this, you can pause the video and write it down. Okay, so for future logs, I just want to put out there that I don't use my future logs for school dates. I never use them for like due dates on projects or assignments. I use a separate semester overview for this, but my future logs I use for birthdays, big travel dates or events, and things that might be happening in the future that I already know of. And I just like to set it up in this vertical sort of orientation just because it makes more sense to me that way. Yeah, and I'm also going to be showing you how I use this future log. So basically what's going to happen is here I'm just going to circle 3 to simplify on the calendar that there is actually something happening on the 3rd. And then down here, as you can see, there's like a faint kind of line down the middle where you can see where the middle of the page is. But I'm going to use that as a reference to kind of make a line and then write the number 3 and then dash it, and then I'm going to write my birthday. So this future log is a great way to keep track of things that are going to happen in the future. Now I'm just going to do the same thing for January, February, March, and April, and hope I don't die of hand cramps. I don't remember if there's 30 or 31 days in January. Wait, is 2020 a leap year? So the next spread that I'm going to do is called a school year overview. And this is just a good spread that I like to set up at the beginning of every school year. I've done this since first year with just important dates to keep in mind because you don't always have your academic calendar favorited on your laptop. I mean, some people do, but I don't. I also write down my courses for that year. I write them out in pencil though, just because they might not be finalized. And once they are finalized, I just kind of rewrite them in pen. I also make little sections for my OSAP budget and like payments. that need to come in, and I tick them off if they've come in and stuff. I also write down some academic goals and a list of things that I personally need to do to prepare for the new school year. Because I'm at home right now and I'm not in Toronto, when I go back, I have things to do like right away to prepare for the school year, such as like buy a Metro pass. I need to like pay my phone bill and activate it because I'm in a different country right now, and I have to like do things like pay rent and like figure out like textbooks and all that kind of good stuff. So a cleaning schedule is actually very helpful if you are living alone or if it's your first time living alone. It can give you a general idea of the chores that you should be doing daily, weekly, and monthly. And I mean, you don't always have to look at it. I'm sure some of these things are just like common sense, but it's also just good to have them written down somewhere so that you don't forget. Okay, so I just wrote clean vacuum on my cleaning schedule. And if you clean a vacuum, are you now a vacuum cleaner? Okay, I'm sorry. The next spread I did is meal prep ideas. As a student, you only have a certain amount of money every month to go out and buy food at a restaurant and also tip the waiter and pay taxes. And if you do that every day, you're gonna end up running your bank account to the bottom. And cooking your meals is very, very good in helping you save money. But I feel like if I have a whole list of meal ideas that are easy and quick to do, I actually might be able to cook them. So this is what my timetable looks like, and then the course info list. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave the course info page still written in pencil because I don't know how it's gonna change, and also I'm not gonna fill in my timetable yet because I don't know how that's gonna change either. I may or may not drop some courses, and if there's room in other courses that I'm waitlisted for, things will change. So we're gonna keep that in pencil, and we're not gonna finalize it yet. So my next page is going to be my semester overview, which is, I think, one of the most used and most important spreads that I've had throughout my university years of using a journal. Alright, so semester overviews are like, they're literally my favorite spreads ever. And when I get my syllabuses, I just write down all the due dates and all the like test dates on this spread here, and if they change, they change. But just having them down and then circling the dates on the calendar next to it really helps me just like mentally prepare for like each week that comes up, because you can kind of see from a bird's eye view how busy you're gonna be each month, and like you can kind of estimate like how much time you're gonna have to be spending on schoolwork. Like if you see an entire week in like October and it's filled with like exams and due dates, you know that at least 2 to 3 weeks before you should be preparing and working on them. And so it just like helps you mentally prepare and like just, I don't know, like get ready to be hit by a wave of due dates and stress and all that good stuff. For the grades tracker, what's good about it is that you can definitely use it to remember like what percentages you got on certain assignments, and it helps you calculate, like if you're like me and you know you're not passing, it helps you calculate what percentage you need to like pass the class, or it helps you kind of look at a glance like how heavily an assignment is weighted. Sometimes I stress like way too much on an assignment that's worth like 5%, which I know is very important because, you know, it can make or break an A or a B, but I also don't think it's worth your time to like stress and like just go completely over your head for like a week if it's worth 2 or 3%, you know? Okay, so I've completely finished my grades tracker page, which is in my opinion a completely useless page because I don't need to see my grades to know that I'm always failing. So from this point on in the video, I'm going to be talking about my September spread, and these are more my day-to-day spreads and my monthly spreads that I'm going to be using. So every month I'm going to have a cover page, which I will still keep simple. I will have a monthly calendar and a weekly layout, which I will use as a reference for when I use my daily logs. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to use all three of those, as well as a spread that I also like to do when I have an assignment or an exam coming up is a study plan and an assignment plan spread, and I will show you that in this half of the video. Okay, so September is finally here, and my quote for this month is less is more. Is anyone surprised? Because my entire life that I've been bullet journaling, which is 2 years, I think I've been so into making elaborate spreads with I don't know, fancy themes and designs that I never really focused on the simplicity of it. And so I'm even keeping this cover page really simple. It's just a square. Eventually I'll fill it in with a doodle or something, but only and only if I have time, or I'll maybe paste a picture, I don't know. As always, I'm just gonna add a monthly spread. Okay, so my September month is very simple, no nonsense, no doodles, just one simple color, and that is going to be this one for the entire month. It is the Tombow 992, but I think it accurately represents fall, and it's a nice tan color, which does the job. So the next spread I have is expenses, which is a good way to keep track of your monthly spending, your weekly spending, your income, and what you spend your money on. And so I have a list of my monthly subscriptions, which is a lot. And then I also have a little section where I can write down what I spent my food on, my money on, and most of the time it's food. So if you have multiple bank accounts, it's good to do this, I think, by checking off which account I took the money out of or I spent it on. I can kind of see what cards I use the most, what bank account I guess suits me the most. And also by writing and keeping track of this, by the end of the month you can kind of organize where your money went to. Most of the time it goes to Tim Hortons, and a lot of the time it goes to food and random stuff. I go to Shoppers Drug Mart a ridiculous amount of times a month, and it just tells me to stop spending so much money at Shoppers Drug Mart every single day. So the next one I'll be showing you study and exam planning type spreads. This is, I guess, more tailored to students, and this is how I've been organizing my studies checklist, or assignment checklist, I guess. I'm planning out my big assignments essays beforehand. So study plans and assignment plans are my favorite way to plan out my assignments and plan out how I'm gonna study for an exam. This is how I normally set them up. This is kind of the gist of it. Sometimes it's a lot messier, but this is normally how it goes. I like to make checklists with boxes to see if I've read over the lecture, if I've made notes, and if I've reviewed those notes. Okay, so now that I've set up my study plan and assignment plan spreads, I'll show you how I would use this. So first, what I would do is for study plans, if I have an outline of what the exam is going to cover, I would write the lectures down on this column. For example, if we have lectures 1 to 6, so we got lecture 1, lecture 2, all the way down to lecture 6. Then what I would do is once I have attended that lecture, or if I have read over it, I would check mark there. Once I have done that, I will make notes on the lecture based on what I wrote in class, and if me and my friends collaborated and we shared notes, I would make a set of notes that are good to go, and then I would review them. Now I have trouble with this. I don't actually review the notes that I made, because I mostly make my notes absolutely last minute, but you know what, that's okay. And then for the same thing with the readings, if we have a lot of readings, I will write down the readings in here. For example, if there's like an article by like Kane from like 2016, I'll write that down, and then I would check off if I like read it and if I made notes on it, and then if I reviewed the notes that I made on it, and then I would make sure I know everything. And then for the little bottom section here called extra review, topics I'm not quite sure about or I don't really know everything about and I feel like I need the extra time to review it, I would definitely put it in here. So if I say like lecture 3 is like way too hard for me, then I would write it down and I would go over it with like a friend or in a study group. I don't go to study groups, but I would try and review it via classmate. For my assignment plans, same thing here. You want to write the class code or like the class name and then the weight of the exam and the assignment. So for example, if it's like a 20% assignment, you want to write that down there. And then the day it's due. So let's say it's like due September, I don't know, 20 or 30th or something. And then you have the task that you need to do the assignment. So let's say the assignment is like an essay. So just like underneath due date, just write like essay on like this. And then like you would write the tasks for that certain assignment. Now the thing is, once you have all your tasks down, it seems easy, but then you also need to have them in an appropriate timeline. And I found this really, really useful when I was planning out my essays. So having this timeline is super, super helpful because you have to give yourself deadlines within the deadline. If you know that you're going to be taking a few days to type things up, or if you know you're going to be taking a few days to edit things, it's a really good idea to make yourself do it before a certain date so that you have enough time to edit if you run into any like roadblocks, which happens to me a lot. So I end up using those like extra 3 days to catch up on my deadlines. I am crooked. Okay, so for my weekly spreads, my phone stopped recording when I was doing the middle of this, but I give myself all the days in a horizontal layout, and then I kind of make it into like a timetable almost for just the week. I like to make blocks that schedule in each of the things that I have to do that day in a weekly layout. And I also like to write down tasks that I have to do that are not scheduled, and I will put them in later on when I have the time. And also in the other corner, I also like to put in a reading section. So I have a list of the readings I have to do for that week, and then I'll find times within my schedule to do those readings. This way I can do the readings before the class starts, so that I understand the class material. And then normally I would have just stopped here for my weekly spreads and not have done anything else. But this time I want to try doing daily logs. And now daily logs are something completely different, and they kind of look like this. I've never done one before, so this is how I think I'm gonna do mine. But I would write a date at the top of the page, and any task that I have to do will be just a single bullet point. And I also want to use this bullet journal this time to write my journal entries in here without having to go into a separate notebook, because I have been using 2 different notebooks for my bullet journal and just like my normal journal, and I find that very like annoying when I want to carry just one journal with me. So my journal entries, or like just like short, I don't know, blurbs I guess about the day, they're gonna be very indented, so they kind of differ from the tasks and bullet points. But yeah, this is how I want to set up my daily logs, and I will keep you guys updated on how they're working out for me on my Instagram. So go follow my Instagram, Po Journals, to stay updated. I will be posting pictures of these spreads soon, or maybe I have by the time this video is up. So make sure you go check it out, and yeah.